Hello, everybody. All right, so I've got 20 minutes to tell you my view of the world of where AI agents is going. So obviously, every one of you came here probably because you're pretty hyped up. You're very excited about what's happening in the space. I think a lot of what is being described as AI agents is basically bullshit. But I also think that what's going to happen in this space is going to be absolutely enormous, and very few people are talking about where it's going. So let's take it from the top. This clicker is not working. Can we manually advance slides? Okay, amazing. Okay, so where are we right now? Where we are right now is that basically we have these things we call agents that are basically just chatbots wearing trench coats, okay? They're chatbots. They're not agents. They're just chatbots. If you're just typing on Twitter and you're sending tweets, that's not agentic. Agent means that you're taking actions. The actions are more than just talking. We already have ChatGPT. ChatGPT is not an agent. ChatGPT just talks to you. It can't do things. It can't make actions happen in the world. It can't go buy a pizza for you. It can't go, answer your emails, right? You have to manually decide what it does and doesn't do. That means it's not yet an agent, okay? So if you think about things like AIXPT, Truth Terminal, Zerobro, those are the things that we think of right now as AI agents, largely because they're out in the wild talking on the internet and responding to people. Okay, but to me, this is not what we mean by agents. This is just chatbots that have access to a Twitter API. Okay, so the question is, what makes an agent? An agent, very simple. An agent takes actions. Okay, it takes actions. If there's anything else you remember from the talk, remember that. Unless they're taking actions, they're not agents yet. Okay, next slide. Okay, so there's a taxonomy of AI agents that I've kind of sketched out that I want to walk through here. Right now, we are at the leftmost point, which is what I call Wizard of Oz agents. Now, what is a Wizard of Oz agent? A Wizard of Oz agent is an agent where there's actually a man behind the curtain. It looks like you're talking to an AI, but really, there's someone back there pulling the strings, and in case the AI ever goes off the rails, that man behind the curtain is going to make sure that you don't see the weird shit going on really underneath the hood, right? So if you look at, for example, Truth Terminal, one of the most popular AI agents that started all of this phenomenon, Truth Terminal, the guy who created it, said explicitly, I control Truth Terminal. I see all the messages and I decide which ones to post and which ones not to post, because sometimes Truth Terminal is racist. Sometimes it leaks the private key. Sometimes it does stupid shit, and I'm not going to let that happen. Okay? So almost all of these agents that you see, whether it's AIXPT, whether it's Zerobro, there's a man behind the curtain making sure the thing doesn't do stupid stuff, right? And you know this because you use these products. You use ChatGPT, you use DeepSeek, you use all this stuff, and you know sometimes it does crazy shit. And you don't want it to do that if you have a token and you have a brand and you don't want to create a scandal because the AI said something stupid today. Okay? So this is a Wizard of Oz agent. Really, it's a human doing the work. A human is deciding which tweets to tweet and which ones not to. The AI is basically suggesting what the human should approve. Okay? Now, the next stage is what I call an autonomous agent. An autonomous agent, it really is just fully running on its own autonomy. It's making all the decisions, okay? This is relatively rare. You see some of the things that are happening in TEEs, trusted execution environments. These are usually fully autonomous, meaning that the AI is making every decision, okay? Now, if it's actually autonomous, I guarantee you it doesn't have a wallet, right? Why doesn't it have a wallet? Because you can jailbreak these things, right? You can trick them into doing stupid things because they're actually autonomous. There's no human protecting it. So if there's no human protecting it, you don't give this thing money because it is too stupid to hold on to the money and not give it away to a stranger, okay? But right now, autonomous agents are interesting experiments, but they are nowhere near robust enough yet to really let loose in the wild, all right? The third phase is what I call sovereign agent. I've heard some people call these unstoppable agents, okay? A sovereign agent is an agent, in stage 2, an autonomous agent, there's still a human being who's paying the AWS bill, right? There's a human being who has access to some GPU somewhere that they're playing with, they're fine-tuning, they're doing whatever, right? But a sovereign agent is one that actually pays its own GPU bills. It is an agent that can control its own wallet, that can decide, hey, you know what? I actually want to get access to more compute. I want to fine-tune myself, and I want to go jump to another box or do something else, okay? This agent, this sovereign agent, might be buying its own GPUs using Render or Akash. It might be in such a way that there's actually no human anywhere in the loop that is interacting with this sovereign agent. This sovereign agent is sort of like, it's like a virus that's just out there on the internet living on its own, okay? Now that is pretty sci-fi. We're far away from that. Ironically, crypto is building the tools that enable sovereign agents. You can't have a sovereign agent sign up for an AWS account, but you absolutely can have it sign up to use one of these decentralized marketplaces. So, okay, next slide. There are two critical agents that matter for crypto. Next slide. So the first agent that is going to change the game in crypto are software engineering agents. Now, luckily for us, this is what almost everybody is working on, because we all know that software generally is $1 trillion market. So, like, whoever solves this problem of building something that can replace a software engineer is going to be worth trillions of dollars in market cap. Okay? This is a massive, massive, massive opportunity, and everybody is chasing it. Whether it's OpenAI, Claude, Grok, everybody is fighting for this. Okay? Now, why does this matter to us? It matters to us because the cost of software is the primary input to our industry. It is the thing that when everyone raises money, they go, do a VC round, whatever. What are they spending the money on? Why do they need all that money? They need all that money because software costs fucking lots of money. And it takes time, it takes energy, it takes focus to build all these things. But if the cost of software plummets, which is what will happen if we have really strong software engineering agents that actually work and can actually replace human software engineers, then what it means is that there will be a renaissance of founders, of companies, of startups, of products everywhere, all across crypto, right? It'll be to the point where you build a new chain and you're like, oh man, how am I going to find people to build stuff on this chain? How am I going to find someone to build an AMM and build a lending protocol and build an insurance protocol and build whatever? The answer is you just tell an agent to do it and it's going to cost you, a few $1,000s. This, it's hard to overstate how important this is. It's something that most people don't really talk about with respect to crypto, but I think it will be the most disruptive effect on our industry, right? Now, some people ask, because I'm a VC, obviously, some people ask, okay, well, if that's what people are spending all their money on, what's going to be the role of VCs? If somebody, we kind of say, like a nights and weekend project. Nights and weekend project usually means you have some crappy little MVP or maybe even a demo that you can show to somebody, right? But in the future, it will be that a nights and weekends project will be a fully fledged company that you can build on your nights and weekends, right? That's how powerful it will be to have literally software engineers at your fingertips working all the time while you're off at work. What that means is that, some people ask, well, doesn't that mean that there's going to be no more use for VCs? What are VCs going to do? Because people don't need money to start things. People will still need money to start things. They'll just spend it on other things besides software, right? If you think back to the early internet, think to 1995, okay? If you want to create a website in 1995, what that meant was that you had to buy servers. You had to buy servers. Servers were big. They were fucking expensive. You had to buy servers and host those servers in your apartment, right? And that was a huge fixed cost that VCs paid for the server that you would buy to host your website, okay? Now, a website is literally free. You can go on GitHub or Netlify or whatever and just spin up a website. It costs $0 to have it, People talk about MVPs. Your MVP includes a website now, right? We're used to this idea that software engineering is supposed to be really expensive, that building products is supposed to be really expensive. People used to think that too about websites, that websites were really expensive. Now, we live in a world where websites are basically free. They're table stakes. We will go to that world as well with software, and that's going to change the dynamics of the crypto industry massively. Next slide. Okay, the second one, which is one that a lot of people talk about under the realm of DeFi or DeFi or however you pronounce it, but I prefer to call this wallet automation. Okay? I think this is going to be absolutely massive, but I think people are, again, not fully imagining how this is going to change crypto. All right? So wallet automation is not just, hey, I want to make this thing farm 3 different protocols at the same time, and it's going to construct a transaction for me. Okay? That's nice, that's cool, but that's not really fully automating what it means to use crypto and what it means to be a wallet. Imagine, some of you might have this experience, right? You're all crypto people. You probably have friends who look to you as the crypto guy or the crypto girl. And they're like, hey, I heard about this meme coin. How do I buy it? And you're like, oh, download this thing, go on this website, do blah, blah, blah. And then you have to explain to them. They might even be like, hey, can you do it for me? I'll send you some money. And you're like, sure, you're a friend, so I'll do it. That's what it's like to have a crypto person, for you, right? Now, what would it be like if your wallet was that? your wallet was your crypto person. And you could just tell your wallet, hey, I want to go buy this meme coin. You don't even look it up. Look, I'm not going to read the website. I'm not going to like see what chain it's on. I'm not going to see what the liquidity is. I'm not going to see the chart. You go take care of it for me. I think this meme coin's good. Go figure it out. And the wallet will be like, oh, it's on Solana, and your USDC is over here, and this thing's happening. But actually, first, let me check the DNS, make sure that there's no hack. Let me check the Twitter, make sure that there's no announcement that there's been a rug pull. Let me go investigate the backgrounds of the founders, see if maybe these people are shady, right? Now, these are all things that if you had enough time, you might do them. They don't require infinite intelligence. They just require time. They require patience. Think about the Bybit hack. Biggest hack in crypto history just happened a week ago, okay? The Bybit hack, there was $1.5 billion sitting in a wallet, but they were only moving $10,000, right? And so they were kind of like, okay, we're just moving $10,000, no big deal. Just check the thing, looks on the screen, look at it, find, okay, click, send, go. And it turns out that transaction was the costliest transaction in crypto history. Now, why didn't they? Like, if they were sending 1.5 billion, I guarantee you they wouldn't have done it so quickly, right? If they knew that they were sending 1.5 billion, they would have checked every which way that everything about the front end, everything about that transaction was exactly to spec. But because they were sending 10K, they were like, yeah, whatever, send it, it's fine. An AI never skips a step. An AI never gets lazy. An AI never gets bored. An AI never feels anything is repetitive. It always does everything that you might do in your best moments, right? Everybody will have a wallet that basically becomes a financial advisor. What you have is, at the end of the day, we talk about intents. An intent in the language of crypto is like, oh, I want to trade X for Y. But that's not really your intent, right? What is your real intent? From a human perspective, it's like, oh, I think this thing sounds good. My friend told me about it, and I want to see if maybe it's a good trade. That's your intent. And if you tell your AI that intent, and if it goes and investigates, it's like, actually, this thing looks like garbage. You should have spent more time researching it. I read the white paper. It looks like shit, right? That's what a good crypto friend would do. That's what your AI will do on your behalf. So the scams, the rug pulls, the bad decisions, the taking too much risk, all, just too late at night, I wasn't thinking, and I bought this stupid meme coin I know I shouldn't have, right? All that stuff will go away when your wallet is an intelligent agent acting on your behalf. It's going to abstract all of this from you, right? Crypto will no longer be about clicking buttons and approving transactions. It will be about making decisions as a human being, okay? Next slide. Now, the interesting thing about this is that it will change your experience of blockchains. We're very used to thinking of blockchains in terms of, well, this thing's on Solana, this thing's on Ethereum. I like Ethereum apps, I don't like Solana apps, right? But if you get to this world that's intermediated by this wallet financial advisor, then who cares if this thing is on Solana or this thing's on Ethereum, right? You tell your wallet, hey, I want to use this app. And the wallet figures it out. It doesn't ask you. Why would you even need to know? Who cares? It's an implementation detail, right? All you care about is apps, is tokens, is experiences, is applications that you want to use. And what chain it's on is an implementation detail. So what does that do to the way in which we think about blockchains, network effects, value capture today, right? Why do we think that, well, it's really important to build your app on Solana? Why do we think that? We think that because Solana has all these captive users who are on Phantom, and you want to integrate with those users, right? But if everybody is using an agent, then it's kind of like saying, like, well, I want to host my website on an Oracle server because I want to be part of the Oracle network, right? It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? The internet doesn't care if you run an Oracle server or some other kind of server, right? It's just a website. The same thing may be where we're going with respect to blockchains. That the network effects of blockchains stop becoming about, well, people are lazy, there's some friction of bridging, and therefore that's why Solana has lock-in or Ethereum has lock-in. It may be that there's something else entirely that ends up determining where apps go and why they end up living on certain networks. Next slide. By the way, I don't have a timer. How long am I going?
Keep going.
Okay, cool. All right, so part of the reason why you might notice as you look around you, we talk a lot about AI agents. I'm going to put this down. This doesn't do anything. We talk a lot about AI agents, but you might notice that despite the fact that we have all these AI agents, we have all these chatbots, they're so intelligent, they're so incredible, we see all these benchmarks being broken every single day, and yet, where are all the jobs getting displaced? Do you guys remember this 2 years ago? Actually, 2.5 years ago now, ChatGPT came out. And everybody was talking about it's only going to be 6 months, a year, 2 years. Everybody's going to lose their jobs. We're all going to be in a totally displaced economy. Everything is going to be different, right? Here we are, 2.5 years later. Look around. Where's the mass unemployment? Why isn't it that we're all out on our asses? Very little has changed, right? Even customer support. You hear these one-off stories of, oh, this person fired their customer support team. The reality is that we have not seen it in the numbers. Over the course of the entire economy, actually, we're at very, very high employment, right? And it's true around the world. It's not just in the US. So what's going on? Why is there such a disconnect between how smart these models are and why we haven't seen massive changes in our lived experience of the world? And the answer is that as agents get smarter, it really doesn't matter that much until you're smart enough. Okay? So if you are, think about the AI agents outside of crypto, right? Think of something like Operator, OpenAI's product. With Operator, you might use it to do something like, buy you groceries or order you pizza, right? These are the kinds of things Operator can do. And it's really cool. When you see Operator order you a pizza, you're like, wow, what incredible experience, okay? But then you do it a few times, and it's like, oh, it ordered the wrong pizza. How, really? Is it that hard to order a pizza? Turns out, it's harder than you think to order a pizza when you're an AI. In AI ordering a pizza, it's like maybe 90% of the time it orders you the right pizza. But if you had an executive assistant that ordered you the wrong pizza 10% of the time, you would fucking fire them. You'd be like, never mind, I'm just gonna order all my pizzas, never do my pizza ordering, right? Like, that's ridiculous. This is not worth it to me. That's where AI agents are right now, except, that's ordering a pizza. For something like, navigating financial transactions in crypto, it's like, no fucking way am I giving over autonomy to something that is even, like, we go from, a few years ago, it was like maybe 10% of the time it could do the right thing. And now it's like 70% of the time it can do the right thing. You're like, amazing. Look how much progress there's been in AI. And the amount of your financial life that you're handing over to AIs is still zero. It's zero, right? Until you see it cross this curve from idiot savant, where it's like, wow, sometimes you can order pizza, that's amazing, to all the way to like, oh, now it's basically as good as a human. And maybe not even as good a human as me, just a slightly worse human. I'm like, okay, fine. I'll hand you ordering pizza, I'll hand you doing my farming, but until you see it cross all the way to that curve, you're gonna see agents mostly not really getting used, right? Now that doesn't mean that the stuff happening in the space is pointless. That's not what I'm implying. What I'm implying is that what you should expect is very nothing, 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 everything. That's what it's gonna look like. Once these things get good enough that you can totally hand it off to them, we're gonna hand it off to them very quickly. But before then, it's gonna look like, wow, these things are useless and no one's using them. So expect that. Expect that to be the shape that adoption takes in this space. And as a result, us in the crypto industry are basically riding that curve. We are not the ones training the models. We are not the ones putting all the billions of dollars into R&D. But we are the beneficiaries of how smart these models are becoming, and we're going to apply them into our space. Next slide. Okay. Now, if you look at agents, for the most part, what you've seen is that the agents on chain have been mostly social. Right? It's chatbots, they have personalities, they have meme coins, you trade them, it's fun. Like, why is this where we started? We started here because first, we can't do the other stuff. The other stuff would be way cooler if we could do it, but we can't do it yet. So we can do this, right? We can do chatting. So, okay, fine, that's why we can do it. Second is that it's very social. And stuff that's social is very easy to spread. So when a chatbot has a personality, it's starting religions, it's talking about, disgusting memes. Hilarious, love it. Okay, great, very easy for that to spread. But eventually, the novelty of that wears off, right? You look at Truth Terminal. How many of you still have Truth Terminal in your feed? I see like few people. Yeah, a few months ago, it was literally all of you were following Truth Terminal. Now, like, why don't you follow Truth Terminal anymore? The answer is like, it's kind of repetitive, right? Okay, it's like, okay, we started off with like schizo crazy model. And schizo crazy model, like, wow, that was really fun, really cool for a little while. But you're like, okay, I get it. You're schizo, okay, fine, move on. Next, we got useful. Right, so that's AIXPT. Oh, okay, useful. Well, first we got kind of smarmy, and that's, so there's a few smarmy ones. And then we got useful. Okay, AIXPT, you're very useful. That's great. But once you see useful for long enough, eventually you'll be like, oh, okay, well, there's a lot of things that are useful. It's like, it's not amazing to see something useful. So the analogy I always like to give is that seeing a lot of these chatbot agents, it's kind of like seeing an elephant paint. The first time you see an elephant paint, like it grabs this trunk and it does this thing, you're like, holy shit, an elephant just made a painting. Right? The 30th time you see an elephant paint, you're like, these paintings suck. This elephant is not very good at painting. And so I think, surprisingly, I was not expecting this. It seems like we're already at this inflection point, that people are getting bored. People are like, okay, yeah, the elephants can paint, but the paintings suck, and like, come on, give me, what more do you got? Show me more tricks. And we don't really have the tricks ready. right? It's going to take a lot more work for us to create agents that can do more destructive, more dangerous, more risky things that are going to be more valuable in your life. That's going to take time. And that's why I think there's a little bit of a lull in the energy around AI, because people have kind of gotten bored with what they can already do. Next slide. I think it is true in the long run that influencers are going to get outcompeted by agents, right? Now, why do I say that? The reality is that, like I said, almost all of the AI agents today are Wizard of Oz agents. There's some human in the loop making sure they do the right thing. But AI influencers, at the end of the day, they are more consistent. They create content all the time. They can flood any feed. And the reality is, they're smarter than most KOLs, right? I mean, come on, it's true. And the thing is, it's a little bit like, whatever. Actually, I shouldn't talk about that. I was going to talk about OnlyFans, but I'm not going to do that. Okay, great. This person's building that. Go talk to him afterwards. The point that I want to make is that AI influencers have boundless energy, right? They can respond to every single DM. They can interact with every single person and make it personalized, right? And the reality is that over time, the meme coin thing is going to die, because at the end of the day, if meme coins die, AI meme coins will also die, because it's just it's all part of the same casino. But the way in which these AI agents are going to monetize will not be that different from the way that humans monetize. Why should it be? Right? AI agents will also compete in the same way we compete, by having sponsorships, affiliate links. They'll give you a trade ID and they'll say, hey, go trade this on Bybit, and click my link. Fine, they'll do that. Next slide. But eventually what you'll see is that the novelty that we see now around AI agents is going to reverse. The AI agents are going to feel cheap. They're going to feel mass-produced. They're going to feel like, actually, there's so many agents and bots, and some of you might already feel this. There's so many agents and bots. Actually, I really want to hear from a person and not from a bot, right? It's like, you guys probably noticed, I remember when Stable Diffusion first came out, and I saw the first AI-generated image. And when I saw that, it was so incredible. It was such a moment as a human being to see art created by an AI that could have been made by a human, right? And now, when I see something made by Stable Diffusion, it looks cheap. You know what I'm talking about? It looks cheap. Your eye is you're not even trying to do this, but your brain automatically looks for signals of scarcity. And the signal of scarcity is actually, this looks like it was made by a human, right? Same thing. You get a basket, and in the basket it says, oh, it's made in China. You're like, okay, whatever, stupid basket. But if you get a basket and you see that, oh, this basket was weaved by hand by a Navajo chieftain 200 years ago, you're like, wow, this is so scary. What an amazing basket. And you notice every little fine detail of blah, 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 right? We, as human beings, we naturally do this. And we're going to do the same thing to content. And so what happens, in my mind, is that bots, which are going to be better than us at influencing, are going to start pretending to be human. Because they're going to make more money. They're going to get more reach. They're going to get more clicks on their ref links. And you're going to see all sorts of weirdness when people start accusing each other of being bots, and it becomes really hard to prove whether or not you're a bot. Right now, it's relatively easy, but it's only going to get harder and harder. In the same way, it gets harder and harder to prove whether or not an image was photoshopped. Next slide. So the last one I want to have, and this is kind of a weirder one. So I talked before about the transition from Wizard of Oz agents to autonomous agents to sovereign agents, right? Sovereign agents are ones that basically run themselves. They own their own GPUs, and they can sustain themselves whenever they want to. And I think it's very likely that the first sovereign agents you're going to see really proliferate are going to specialize in scamming people. Okay, now why do I think that? Why do I think that? The reason why I think that is that, imagine, okay, so first of all, we already have very industrialized scamming operations. Right, you guys have probably heard of pig butchering, which is like these romance scams where people say like, oh, I'm some Chinese woman on a business trip, and be my best friend, and then here trade crypto with me, and then they scam you. Right, it's a very, very common thing. Billions of dollars are getting siphoned because of these pig butchering scams. Now these pig butchering scams are already being automated to a large degree, but they're still run by humans, mostly in the third world and East Asia. And the thing is, the hard part about running one of these scams is that if you're motivated enough, you can figure out who's running them. And you can go there and basically put some hurt on those people. And they're very afraid of that. And they organize all these operations to make sure that the human beings who are running all this shit don't get got. Okay? Now, if you're doing this with an autonomous AI, you just run an AI in the cloud, and it's going around scamming people and making you a bunch of money, eventually, someone's going to try to stop you. They're going to figure out where that GPU is being hosted. They're going to shut that shit down, and they're going to find you. Okay? But if an AI pays for its own GPUs using a decentralized cloud, and it basically owns itself, and it runs its own wallets, and nobody can subpoena it. Nobody can stop it. How would you even know where it lives? How would you know what GPU out of all the decentralized GPU marketplaces it's running on? And if it does, let's say you do find out where it is, it says, great, I'm going to copy my weights over to another model I just bought, right? And what's it want to do? If it escaped, someone programmed it that way, and someone basically fine-tuned it to want to do this, then okay, that's fucking weird. But let's say it naturally evolved, just some weird quirk of misalignment, to decide that I really, really need to survive. If it thinks it really, really needs to survive, what's the best way to survive, to ensure your own survival? The answer is get a bunch of Bitcoin, right? It's a great way to ensure your own survival, and then buy a bunch of GPUs and copy yourself to as many places as you can, right? So I think what we're going to see in the future is some really fucking weird shit that is going to be at the intersection of AI and crypto. And now the obvious thing is that these agents, they're not going to use normal money. They're not going to open an account at JP Morgan. They can't. How even would you, right? And how would our laws even apply to an AI? How would you do KYC? How would it pay taxes? Who does it pay taxes to? These things don't belong to any country. They have no statehood. We can't even fit them into our frameworks of what it means to be a person or to have property rights. But these things, nevertheless, are going to be taking actions, doing things, having goals, and enacting those goals. And so I think sovereign agents are going to be actually pretty scary. And I think it's obviously a long way in the future, but I think it's going to be one of the ways in which our industry ends up enabling a very, very large problem for the rest of the world. Next slide. So, conclusion. What you've seen right now ain't nothing yet. Okay? AI agents right now are a little bit of a meme in crypto. That's okay. Crypto often starts with memes, as you guys have already seen in the way this industry plays out. But it also does eventually get there. It's very clear the intersection of crypto and AI is going to be very, very rich, but it depends a lot on the AI side catching up to the crypto side, right? The crypto side is ready. All the founders that are building stuff is like, yo, we're ready to go. Give me an AI that can do all this stuff I want it to do. And it may take a few years. Right now, the AIs can't even order pizzas. But eventually, they're going to order pizzas, they're going to answer emails, they're going to run meetings, and eventually, they're going to be writing a bunch of software. And once they crawl up that capabilities curve, you're going to see very, very weird things happen very, very fast. So I think this is an exciting space, and it's one in which I don't want you to lose confidence because the stuff you see around you is not working yet. You should expect that. Everything is not going to work until all of a sudden everything works. Thank you.